Alrighty, so in week 9, our last week of the semester, you will have items due as our normal Monday night items, meaning lecture, hands-on, current topics. And then on Thursday, you will have 30 minutes of a lecture, and then that's when you need to have done your project 0. So what's different this week though is the end of the semester is the video you're watching right now. So what you'll need to do is set up a markdown file in your private repo under lectures, I think, and this is what you name it. So eos.markdown. Okay, and in here, in your markdown file, I want you to then take notes on the content I'm going to cover. And this is something that I'm not sure why I changed it this semester. I think because I was reorganizing the content. But in past semesters where I had each week instructional videos, I had students actually include those in your lecture notes. So it's something I'm thinking of reinstituting because I think sometimes students tend to not do things that don't get points. So I get it. It's like we need to give you points for you to pay. I think it's not students, it's just humans. You need to give them an incentive to do things. So this is one of the things I realized this semester I'm going to do. So your last lecture here on week 9, you're taking notes and then you'll submit the link to that. Okay, so what I'm going to go over in a little bit is the project 0. But what I'm going to start out with, and this is really, I've organized my concepts to make sure I've done it. So I'll first, should have a few notes in the beginning and then we'll have week 9. So in week 9, like I said before, we're doing things a little differently, but in the content strategies and current topics and then this, I'm going to cover these 3 items here. So on the content strategies, this is where, you have to have some content for your site because content and pictures together tell people everything they would need to know or everything you're trying to communicate with them. And I get that this is not a writing class, right? But content is often one of the more challenging things to do. So that's why I was really surprised that so many of you decided to do a personal site. So I decided to at least give you some boundaries for what this word count needs to be. So if you're doing an organization of the course content, you can just copy and paste content. If you're doing a personal site, you need a minimum of 75 words for each page of content. Right? Now you might be able to glean this content from somewhere else like your Facebook post, maybe your Twitter post, maybe that's, or some other social media. So if you have other places you can glean that content that is your own writing, that's cool. Right? So, but just, I want you to think about it, right? I want you to give some thought here to how are you going to deal with content. So like this morning, and I'm recording this on the weekend before we start week 8. I'm trying to work ahead because, as you know, and I'll talk about in a little bit, I'm leaving the week this class ends for a little bit of a trip. But I decided to continue working on the site, my site, and I'm getting closer. I've actually got about 90% of the pages built out. I am happy so far with, I've written a little bit of content to it, and here's one of the things, and actually I think I'll hold that for just a minute because in this content, right, I'm actually just giving you and reviewing for you sorry, yeah, we're on content strategy. Sorry, it took me a moment there to think about it. So I wrote a little bit of content. I'll come back to in a little bit to the whole site. But it is definitely something that you have to give some thought to, right? But this is also, I think, if you do this, for yourself, it's also something that's nice to have and share with other people. So in this item, what you're going to need to do is, think about how you're going to handle the content, right? Because if you're pulling content from the content there, right, should be fairly easy, right? But I would say in that case also minimum of 75 words, but it should be easier to get more content. But it's really about relevant content to the page. That's really what's most important, right? And then in what you provide here is continue working on your site, right? So it's just, this is a continuation of working on your site. Give us a link and an update on your progress. Write 150 words. And as normal on hands-on, there's no replies. Okay, so that's what I expect to see on that item. why I stopped there was actually was almost going to go off on another topic. I'm like, nope, I can't do it. So the current topic here is one that I give some thought about because I actually wanted to do something on machine learning, but I actually didn't find what I would consider a good concise video talking about the topic I wanted, which was really how machine learning is going to help developers or impact them. So I thought this is a good video too. So this is a little bit longer video. It's 17 minutes, but it's really worth your time because he's talking about, and I've watched this guy quite a bit. He's pretty good, and he's got, and he's, he's a professional developer, so he's got that background. And then I want you to watch the whole video, right? Watch all this video and then select the topic. And this is normal, you've seen me do before, that you want to learn more about and do some additional research, right? And then provide links to it because he's going to cover various topics in here, things that, you need to be thinking about, things that are coming, things, and for you all who are just, some of you are just dipping your toe in this industry, right? This is good just context to have and to be able to, when other people talk about some of this stuff, what that means. So in this case, when you reply links, write 150 words, right, and do your normal 2 substantive replies here, okay? All right, so that makes up the Monday night content. And then on Thursday night, I'm going to do something that I think is something I've thought about doing before, but there's so much to learn about the web development industry. Oh my God. So I want you to find 30 minutes of video, and you can find it either on lynda.com or YouTube, but find relevant video to be like what you want to learn now that you've learned some of this material. What is it that you would want to learn next, right? Is there something that sparked your interest in this class that you think, oh, that's something and go find that, go find some content and watch 30 minutes of it and take notes, right? So when you do, you'll create a new file, MD file, my choice, right? And then make sure you provide me a link to the video that you are using, and then headings, format this headings and then cover the concepts. Let's see, link to the and headings. Oh yeah, so I should have rewrote this a little bit, but just one thing I've noticed is folks aren't using headings in there. Some of you are doing a great job, but some of you are not doing like headings and then bullet points for your concepts, and that's really something I look for on this last one. Okay. All right, so that's the week 9, right? So in this case, make sure that you understand the content is laid out. That's good. But the one last thing, and this definitely needs to go in your notes, and it really needs to be a new heading under this concept of week 9, is that I do accept late grades, late work, but I will not accept anything, right, after the project 0 has been due. So, and this is what I want to make sure you understand, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I leave at noon on October 11th. I will be on campus Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, my normal office hours, which you can find in the syllabus. But on Wednesday, I will not be on campus. Sorry, on Thursday, I will not be on campus. So, if you're wanting to talk to me, that's the thing I've been saying, right? I hope to see you in week 8. But if not, I'll see you hopefully in week 9. But if you are looking for me on Thursday or Friday, right? And by the way, Friday would really be too late because I do not accept, and this is what I want in your notes besides what I've already said, I do not accept late work for project 0. It is due. Now it shows here at midnight, but I'll just be honest with you. I'm going to wake up in New York on Friday morning. I will grade anything I haven't already graded. And at that point, if you want to submit work late, it needs to have been submitted by that time I'm grading. Now remember, there's a 2-hour time difference between New York and here. So really, you want to get that in probably not too long after midnight, just because I'm going to have a long day Friday, so I'm going to want to bang this out so I can go do my other activities. You got that? So when I look at your end of semester notes, I want to make sure you understand that if you have late work, I do accept it. It's discounted 25%. I do not accept it after the morning, early morning, of October 12th, and really that's why 11th. And that obviously also applies to Project Zero. But for those of you that can, I would submit Project Zero even at the beginning of this week, and even if you could at the end of 8, so that you can get feedback if you've missed something, right? Okay, so that is week 9. So now let's talk about Project Zero. Okay, so like I showed you before, I've made some good progress on my Project Zero. I see some things I need to change based on the requirements. So let's move back and forth between the Project Zero requirements, right? So this is one thing I realize I think I talked about this in week 8 and I had it a little bit wrong. So and let me just show you what I mean. So if you're organizing the course content, right, and I talked about the alternatives here, you still, either way, you need to have 4 to 5 menu organization. And again, if you're not sure at this point, this would be your menu organization. Now yours, because your template's different, it's going to be different. So if I'm building 21 pages, one's going to be the index page. And then if I have 4 menu items, that's 4 pages, because every page of my menu then every item in my menu would have a page associated with it, right? So then that's 5, right? So then the rest of them need to be evenly divided, pretty evenly divided. Like I wouldn't want to see just one page on one menu item, but so that it falls within these categories. When I did this before, I had forgotten that for each menu item there is just a page. And here's what I mean. And when I click on one of my menu items, and I showed you this before, how I'm organizing my subpages. And by the way, you could have your template, and there is a way, even if your template didn't do it, to do a drop down, but it's not required for this, right? So this is just the way I did it. And then now in this case, I wrote a little bit of content this morning for my main page, so I'm going to need to build out some more content. But like I said, I'm going to continue building my pages. I only have a few left on these two to complete that. Okay, so that's that. And so make sure there's a total, right, of 21 pages, right? This is what I talked about here. And then this is what I talked about on content, right? So and besides the 75-year words either copied from your content or you've gleaned or written, right, you also need an image associated with every page and a unique title. So actually let me look at that now, because this is something I know in my site, and it's just good to show you, because this is a fairly simple thing. Not fairly, it is simple, it's just doing it, right? So on my index page, I have, and every page has a title, right? So when every subpage then needs to have are related to that page title, and this is something that was covered under the CEO, right? And I could leave my name, but I could also put my life. I also might, because for search engine optimization, because there's thinking either way here. I could leave it this way. There's various people that I've seen do it like this, where it kind of denotes, and actually maybe I'd flip it in that case, but either way you need a unique name on each page, unique title, that is for each page. You do need favicon, which we've already done for each page, right? So that's just to let you know, right? So then there is that unique title. So on your index page, I do want you to write a little bit more content, right? Oh, I'm going to change this. Actually, this is from the prior. I'm actually decreasing the amount of content. And what this was really reflecting was for each menu page, but I'm actually going to make this 75, and actually, so it'll be all pages except the index page, which needs 200, but all other pages can have 75 words on them. Okay, and then so you will, matter of fact, since you're here with me, it's just good to show you that I will do this so it's not for your index and 75 words for your menu pages, which is really no different than just the this item up here, which talks about how many words are in there. Okay, so you obviously do your GitHub workflow, and then in your comments, because I've actually made this item to have comments, I want you to grade yourself, right? So I've laid down the points so you can see this. I want you to give yourself a point value between 0 and 100, right? Okay. All right, so I think that should be good. The thing I'd like to say too, though, about this work is that don't get too hung up on how it looks for now for this project. Just make sure, and this is one thing I want to tell you I will look for, and I will make sure I include it somewhere, is that anything that is on your page, right, needs to have a link somewhere. If you don't have it linked somewhere, then it needs to be removed. And what I mean by that is, like, there is definitely some content that you already have from the site, so, or from your template. So I only want to see content that you've either touched and made, and here's what I mean by touched. Like on mine, there's some generic icons for like Twitter, so I provided my Twitter link, right? So, and actually in those I'd probably want to do target underscore blank. But then I do, and I did update this, but if I don't have some content for these, which I need to get rid of them, right? So I will look for, when I look at your site, is all the pages there? Are all the pages working? Is all the content on the pages linked to something that you've created and not just generic text, right? So in that sense, I would probably link that under this major point here, is to make sure that everything is working on your site and that you have either removed or updated the content for your topic specific content. Okay, but what I was really meaning here too about this item is that I don't want you to get too hung up on that it has to look beautiful or it has to be perfect, because that's not the idea of this class. As you learn more with HTML and CSS and you do other classes or projects or whatever you're going to do, you're really going to learn more about how to make things look the way you have a vision in your head. What you want to do here is really just be able to take a template, place in some content, create a navigation. And I've said this before, but there's only a couple of you, but I'm going to say it because it's worth it. This is a file-based static site. So this is a file-based static site, which means every web page is a new file. And again, this is old school, right? This is new sites. There are still some that are created this way, but new sites are definitely created with different technologies, build tools, programming languages. I mean, there's so many different ways. But it is still, this is like your fundamental, you want to have this background, is to understand how to manage and create static file-based websites. Okay. All right. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to under Project Zero. If by the time you're watching this, you still have questions, I'm hoping to hear from you either in chat, email, or seeing me on campus. Remember, syllabus is where my office hours are listed. Okay, so what's next, right? So, what's next is really depends on you. What do you want to do? I mean, in this sense, hopefully many of you are taking CIT85 next, right, with Todd McLeod. So I hope many of you transition into that class. I think you'll get, what's cool about that is Todd and I have similar yet different styles of content creation and class management, but that's okay, because in life you're going to have a lot of diversity and everybody's going to be different, and learning how to adjust to every class is like learning just how to adjust to new people. So given that class, right, that I hope many of you are going on to do. And then maybe next semester, are you looking for classes? I am pretty sure I am going to be teaching either down at Bitwise Hive or on campus. I don't know for sure, confirmed the location. Maybe by week 9 attendance I'll know that. But I'll be teaching Node.js. Really, it's a class that you need to have some JavaScript experience to come into, but I'll cover some basic concepts in the beginning, but I'm going to be teaching that at night on Wednesday night from 6 to 9. So, and then I don't know other people's schedule for next semester, but look for those classes and ask me if you have anything in specific. I do know, and this is one thing I would tell you, that our web developer program is actually going to change. Starting in the fall 2019, we're going to be including a couple of new classes. Like I'm developing one on machine learning, developing one on frameworks. Todd's going to do one on the core is going to become Go. Then he's going to do more advanced concepts on Go, which is great things to learn, right? So again, we're working on making these courses more relevant to today's junior developers trying to get into the workplace. The thing I would tell you too is that no matter where you go, what you're gonna do, I think it's always good to connect to your community, and I've given you options with DevFest, and I think going down to Bitwise to events or going to their classes is a great thing, because it just gives you more and more exposure to what is going on in your community. And I always say I got my job not just because of what I knew, but who I knew as well. And I always like to phrase it as that it's not just who I knew, it's what I did, how I behaved, and how I interacted with the people that I knew. And having the ability to have good, and this is really something I want in your notes, is good soft skills, the ability to work with other people and be able to manage project timelines, be able to manage feedback, be able to manage all these things are really important skills. So we categorize these as soft skills. And I would say, talking to as many people as I have talked to, is that many companies will want you to have, of course, your technical skills, but will also want you to have a certain amount of soft skills. And it seems for this generation, sometimes that's more of a challenge, right? I'm on Slack for GeekWise, so it wasn't that appropriate. But your soft skills are important. Your human interaction skills, the ability to communicate your thoughts and to be able to talk to other people and work with them. Because I'm telling you, it's not always easy. People are people, and everyone is different, and every situation causes you to have to respond and reflect to that condition, that situation. So I'll just end by saying thanks, right? I really, really do appreciate this semester. This group of students seems like, in ending here, if you feel like giving me course feedback, please do that. I've redone the course completely this semester. So I would say actually 95%. Maybe there's a little few items I've used, but I've redone the course content. And I know you didn't have the previous semester, but how did this course run for you? Are there things that you would tell me that you would, here's some things you might want to think about. Here's some things I feel that went well. Whatever that content is, if you want. It's not required, but it's always helpful, right? In anything in life, the more we can handle feedback, and figure out if that is something we want to integrate, right? Because everybody comes at this in their own perspective again, right? So having that. All right, so I think this is it for your last thing, and I did say that was the last thing, but I am actually going to show you this. So you have to submit the URL for the Week 9 lecture, but just to be clear, on the Project Zero, I'm going to go into the student view just so you see what I mean by this in case when you go to do it. When you go to do your Week 9 Project Zero turning in, right? So you'll go into here, and then you will submit your assignment. I've gone over all the requirements, right? So you have the ability here to submit this could be where your grade, this is how you assess yourself, right? And this is where you give a link to your GitHub. And by the way, make sure you're giving me, because I will mark off if you don't give me the correct link. So don't give me a link to your repo. Give me a link to your GitHub IO, right? So you can see I haven't updated it since this morning, but this link is what should go in there, and that your own grading yourself should go in here, and then hit submit. All right, have a great one, and I hope to, if I haven't seen you in person, I hope to meet you someday soon. Have a good one. Bye.